Hi guys, my name is Nicole Warren. I'm from the North Carolina Aquarium at Pine Knoll Shores. I'm one of the educators and bird trainers there. And welcome to our very first Sunday Funday Science Experiment. And we have a great one for you here today. So as you guys can see, I am not at the aquarium today because I'm practicing social distancing, but that is not going to keep me from sciencing at home. And yes, you can science, you can develop experiments, and you can conduct inquiries without having to leave your very own home. It's actually really incredible all the neat experiments that you can come up with just by using your very own household objects, stuff that you just have lying around the house. Anyone can be a scientist. You don't need a fancy lab coat or goggles or even fancy equipment to conduct some experiments and figure some stuff out at your very own house. So today I thought it would be fun to practice some salty science because I don't know about you, but I am really missing the beach. I live at the beach, but all the public beach accesses are closed. So I thought today we would bring the beach within reach and conduct the salty water density experiment together. Now, it's a pretty easy and quick experiment. All you need is what I have right here in front of me. So you're going to need some salt. You're going to need about 2 cups of water. You're going to need a tablespoon, a stirring spoon, 2 glasses that you can see through, and some really fun little objects that you can figure out whether they will sink or float. Now, of course, since I work at the aquarium today, I picked super adorable little mermaids and awesome, cute little fish. But I also have some jewels here today, as you guys can see. And if you don't have any of these objects at home, that's fine. You can go the more organic route. You can try an egg or you can try a grape. And actually, by trying an egg or a grape, going that more organic route, see if the experiment turns out a little bit differently. Now, we've got all our stuff. I think we're ready to go. But before we begin today, let's talk a little bit about density. So what do I mean when I say density? What do I mean when I say will the salt affect the density of the water? So first, the density of an object is determined by 2 things. It's determined by the mass of the molecules in the object and how tightly packed those atoms are together. So consider a ping pong ball and a gold ring. A ping pong ball, even though it's larger in size, it feels light, whereas a gold ring, which is much smaller in size, feels heavy. That's because the gold ring is more dense than the ping pong ball. Objects that are more dense than water will sink, and those that are less dense than water will float. That's also why a can of Diet Coke will float, whereas a can of regular cola will sink. Even though both cans have 12 fluid ounces, the regular can of cola has additional sugar molecules, causing the cola to be more dense and sink. But what happens when we add salt to the water? How does the salt actually affect the density of the water? Well, let's see. Let's get started. So first we're going to add some water to our first cup, some water to our second cup. And so we'll use this first cup right here as our control. So this is our fresh water. And our second cup right here, we will use as the one that we add salt water to. So we're first going to start with just adding 1 tablespoon of salt. And we're going to mix. All right, and once the salt is all dissolved, what we can do is we can add our objects. So we're first going to start by adding the same colored jewel to each of our glasses. the one with just fresh water and the one with salt water. And then we'll add an adorable mermaid to each. And then some adorable fish to each. So look, with 1 tablespoon of salt in our second cup, so this is our cup that has the salt in it, you can see that all the objects sink to the bottom. But in our control, also all our objects sink to the bottom. So let's try adding more salt. Oh, I forgot a fish. One more tablespoon. So in our control that has just fresh water, as you guys can see, all of the objects are still at the bottom. However, there has been a change in our other glass that has the salt water in it. So as you guys can see, 3 of the jewels are now on top. 1 of our jewels is still at the bottom. And then all of our little buttons, our fish and our mermaids, are still at the bottom. So why do you think that is? Why do you think 3 of our jewels are floating on top and 1 of our jewels is sinking? Because that's very interesting. And why do we think none of our really cute little buttons are floating on top? Why are they all still at the bottom of the water with salt in it? I don't know. It's a good question. What do you guys think? I wonder how many tablespoons of salt it's going to take to get these mermaids and these fish to float. I'll give you guys a minute to kind of guess what you think. And let's try it out. So we are at 2 tablespoons of salt. Let's add a third. Ooh, something's happening. Let me turn them over for you. Well, the ones I can turn over. All right, so in our control, in our freshwater, you can see that all the objects are still at the bottom. However, with our water that now has 3 tablespoons of salt, you can see that all of the objects are floating. Our mermaids, our fish, and our jewels. Actually, you know what? I said the yellow one wasn't floating, but that's because I messed up. Let's see if the yellow one floats. Oh, there you go. So the little yellow jewel is floating too because I accidentally doubled up on this one. But as you can see, all those objects are floating on the top now. So if we think about it, what does it mean and how does salt affect the density of the water? Well, adding salt to the water makes the water more dense. As the salt dissolves in the water, it adds more mass or more weight to the water, allowing more objects to float. That's why we can float better when we're out in the ocean. The concentration of the salt in the ocean water is actually on average about 35 parts per thousand. And the ocean covers about 70% of the Earth's surface. So that means that there's a lot of salty water out there. And this is kind of cool too. By some estimates, if we could take all the salt out of the ocean, so if we could remove all the salt from the ocean and spread it out evenly over the Earth's land, or the Earth's surface, it would form a layer more than 500 feet thick. So that's the same as stacking 25 giraffes on top of one another. So that's pretty incredible, 500 feet thick. So I hope you guys have enjoyed our Sunday Funday today. Remember to ask questions. Remember to be a scientist at home. You can use, like I said earlier, organics. So you could try to use a grape or an egg, see if that makes a difference. You may need a little bit of a taller glass. You could use other objects. Another interesting thing is you could use hot water versus cold water to see if that makes a difference, because maybe it does. I don't know. Well, actually, I do know, but I'm not going to tell you. You guys will have to go figure it out for yourself. And so also too, guys, remember that our world is big and it's still really full of mysteries. We know more about the surface of the moon than we actually know about the depths of the ocean. Isn't that pretty cool? So any one of us can make a difference and safeguard our ocean's treasures. If you guys are interested in being a hero for our planet and its animals, go check out something really neat. It's called a Global Deal for Nature. You can check out their website and sign the petition. The Global Deal for Nature will safeguard our Earth and protect at least 50% of our lands and our oceans. So check it out. It's at www.globaldealfornature.org. And again, I hope you guys had an amazing and lovely Sunday. Hope you enjoyed our Science Sunday Funday, and I hope you come back to watch another one of our videos sometime soon. Bye, guys.